The timestamp, 6:07 a.m., appeared on my phone with exact precision. It was the first message from Maria after more than 10 hours of unexplained silence. Her text was a masterclass in deception. Staying with the team, don't worry. There was no apology for disappearing and no explanation of where she had been. In a marriage built on 12 years of predictable routines and established patterns, a deviation this significant is never random. It is a deliberate choice. I am a man who values facts over emotional assumptions. When the variables in my life stop matching reality, I do not panic. I conduct an audit. Maria had left the previous evening at 6:30 p.m. She was wearing a black silk dress and a pair of earrings she usually saved for anniversaries. She claimed she was attending a mandatory work dinner. I noticed the contradiction between a professional event and her carefully chosen appearance. I said nothing. I simply watched her drive away and noted the direction she took. By midnight, when she still had not returned home, the likelihood of a simple business dinner had fallen to zero. By 3 a.m., I had moved into my home office and begun the data collection phase. I started with our shared credit card statements. The first irregularity appeared at 12:15 a.m. A charge of $184 had been processed at the Riverton Business Hotel. The hotel sat only 20 minutes from her office, yet her company maintained no corporate account there. I documented the transaction, captured a screenshot, and saved it in a digital folder labeled breach. Next, I reviewed the GPS history from our secondary vehicle. The information was definitive. Maria arrived at the hotel at 11:45 p.m. The vehicle remained parked there throughout the night. There were no location records showing restaurants, conference venues, or work-related destinations during the hours she claimed to be occupied. The telematics dismantled her story with absolute efficiency. I spent the remaining early morning hours strengthening my position. At 8 a.m., I contacted a professional locksmith and scheduled an emergency appointment. I instructed him to replace both the front and rear deadbolts with high-security cylinders. He arrived shortly before 10 a.m. While he handled the physical security upgrades, I carried out a digital separation. I systematically changed passwords for the home security system, cloud storage accounts, and every shared streaming service. This was not an act of revenge, it was a necessary protocol. Whenever a primary partnership becomes compromised, securing personal and financial assets becomes the immediate priority. By noon, our shared digital infrastructure had been completely separated. Shortly after lunch, I met with my attorney. I presented the hotel receipt and GPS records. Then I requested a formal legal separation agreement. I insisted on a straightforward 50-50 division of assets. When my attorney asked whether I wanted to wait for an explanation from my wife, I declined. An explanation is merely a subjective narrative. I was interested only in objective facts. By 4 p.m., I returned home carrying a signed legal draft inside a plain manila envelope. The preparation phase was complete. The confrontation began at exactly 6:12 p.m. Through the blinds, I watched Maria's car enter the driveway. She approached the front door carrying the same polished confidence she had worn the night before. I heard her insert the key into the lock. Then I heard the metallic click as the tumblers refused to engage. She tried again and again. Each attempt became noticeably more desperate. Finally, she knocked. I stood on the other side of the door, separated from her by 2 inches of solid oak and a brand new security cylinder. I did not open it. Instead, I spoke through the wood in a calm, controlled voice. I asked how the team dinner had gone. A long silence followed. Eventually, she replied that it had been fine. Then I asked why she had checked into the Riverton Business Hotel at midnight. The silence that followed was complete. I could hear her breathing quicken as reality began closing around her. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said. But the confidence had vanished from her voice. I told her about the credit card alert. I told her about the GPS records. I told her I had spent the entire day preparing for her return, just not in the way she expected. She began pleading. She insisted she could explain everything if I would simply let her inside. I informed her that the house was no longer a shared space. Earlier that afternoon, I had packed a single suitcase containing her essentials and placed it in the garage. At that exact moment, my phone vibrated. A message had arrived from an unknown contact. The sender was Zara Nolan. She informed me that her husband Gary had spent the night with my wife. Attached were 3 photographs taken in the hotel lobby and elevator. The images were clear, undeniable proof of a long-standing affair. I opened the door only far enough for the security chain to hold. Then I showed Maria the screen. The color drained from her face immediately. She recognized the source of the information. Without speaking, I handed her the manila envelope and the suitcase. I told her she had 10 minutes to leave the property. She didn't argue. The evidence was too overwhelming to challenge. She walked away without another word. 4 months later, we signed the final decree. Maria had lost her job by then. We met one last time in the courthouse parking lot. She asked for forgiveness. I explained that forgiveness was an emotional variable I no longer measured. I had reached equilibrium. The marriage did not end because of a single mistake. It ended because it was no longer a functional partnership. I drove home, unlocked the front door with my own key, and stepped inside. Then I sat quietly in the silence. It was clean. It was logical. It was productive. The audit was finally complete.